Good afternoon, everyone. It is Friday, the 15th of January. I'm Mary Gregory, and it's another Lessons in Leadership. And I'm really happy to welcome you all here today because we've got a double whammy here again today with the fantastic duo of Annie Brooks and Hela Wozniak-Kay. Hello to you both.
Hello, Mary.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, we're in the afternoon. And I'm very excited to talk to both of you because you are the founders and directors of Sister Snog, which I always think of as a networking organization, but it's not actually that. It's more like a business club for extraordinary women who really want to make a difference in business. So I'm very excited to have you here today and to hear more about your story, because I think you have a very distinctive brand, and it'd be good to hear more about how you've established that and let it emerge, as it were. So I'm going to kick off, first of all, with you, Annie. I'd just like to hear a bit more about how you and Hela came to be and how you established this wonderful support community for women.
Well, we met each other in 1989 when we were studying for the British Direct Marketing Association diploma. And we were in the same tutorial group, and very briefly, Hela looked at me with my big 1980s hair and said, I don't want to be anywhere near her. And I looked at Hela and thought, she looks interesting. I'm going to get to know her. And as you can see, I won out. We became friends, and eventually 20 years ago in 2001, we started working together, running a branding consultancy.
So you started out as a branding consultancy, and that actually has emerged into what Sister Snog is today. So Hela, tell us a bit more about how you transferred from a branding consultancy into Sister Snog.
Indeed. So we, in the early days, we were doing quite a lot of pitching and beauty parades. And then we just actually realised that in terms of resource, the two of us pitching, running clients, we thought, I know what we're going to do. Let's go out and let ourselves speak for ourselves. So we eventually decided that we would become networkers extraordinaire. And we went to everything. I mean, between us, we would always go to at least, 2 events a week. And this was way back before Facebook. And then one day, I kind of just said, wouldn't it be nice to be ladies at lunch? And he said, wouldn't it just? So we had a lunch. There were 6 of us, 2 clients, 2 prospects. And it was really animated. And that was February 2002, the first Friday. And then since then, every single first Friday of the month for the last 20 years, we have been in the company of remarkable women.
Yes. And I think I want to acknowledge that because I came along to one of your early lunches. I can't remember what part of the noughties it was, but it was certainly early in the 2000 zeros. And my experience was, it was like, you met people you hadn't necessarily met before, but it was like lunching with a group of old friends. It was really gorgeous, the whole setup and the whole way it went. So you certainly found something that had some sort of magic dust attached to it, I think, in that respect.
Dust found us.
Or the magic dust found you.
Just found us in the people that we attracted. And so, it and then it just kind of evolved. And in answer to the question, there came a point at which we were running Sister Snog. We'd turned it into a club. Because in the early days, it was a lunch, the first Friday lunch. And then you start to think, when you're working with clients, each branding project takes a bit of your soul. And we thought, let's put the rest of our soul into our own brand. And I am the soul of Sister Snog, and Annie is the heart.
I love that. So there's real heart and soul in what you're doing. And what I also hear as well is you went towards what you really loved and what you really enjoyed and where you could be yourself as well. That's what I'm also hearing. So Annie, coming back to you, that's probably my microphone I've just knocked. Coming back to you, I remember coming to some of those early lunches back in the early 2000s, and not really, thoroughly enjoying them and meeting some wonderful people, but not being totally clear about what Sister Snog was about. So how did Sister Snog as it is today start to emerge, and how did you build it as a business?
I think you're right, Mary. It was very much, it was embryonic when we started out, when you first came along, and we were kind of finding our feet with it because it was a new thing for us. I think the turning point really came when we set up the club, and then when we actually decided to close the branding consultancy, because we realised, as Hela said, we wanted to focus on building our own brand rather than somebody else's.
Yes.
And so we then had the time to spend on actually building that club.
Yes. So you then started. It's almost like you focused all your energy on the one thing, and then it started to gain momentum from there, is what I'm hearing.
That was it, exactly.
Yeah.
Building the brand and the name Sister Snog, and we codified what it actually meant. We did actually do it for ourselves. And say who we were, our vision, mission, and started to build that brand from there on in.
Yeah. So you kind of took yourself through your own process, and you made a clear decision. So what I'm also picking up is that must have taken quite a lot of courage to let go of something that you knew you were successful in, to then move towards something else and develop a completely different business.
I'd like to say we had a crystal ball, Mary. But we didn't.
Wouldn't all business owners like to say that?
But actually, our timing couldn't have been better, because it was just before the world imploded, when the banks all, collapsed, and businesses were looking to survive, certainly not to rebrand. So had we stayed with the rebranding, I don't think we'd be here today.
Wow.
However, what women do need, we all need, is connections. We need those throughout the whole of our life, throughout the whole of our business. Golden connections are the currency. They are so important.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what the economic climate is out there, you still need to connect with other remarkable businesswomen.
Yes, that's fantastic. And I think what you do provide is this element of real connection, actually. So you do business networking that works for women. So my experience is it's very different to any sort of network experience I've had anywhere else, and it is about creating that real connection, which is a woman I really, really love. So you've done that brilliantly. So coming back to you, Hela, you mentioned the heart and soul. You're the soul and Annie's the heart, and the yin and yang of Sister Snog. You've also are fantastic role models for how to work in partnership. And I know that often partners get together and they build their business together, and it can be a struggle. But for you two, it's never appeared like a struggle. It's always appeared like a joy. Now, you might be putting on a really good front, I don't know, but there is something about you work to each other's strengths so well. So can you tell me a bit more about how you've established that really synchronitic business partnership that you have together?
I mean, I think it's really interesting in that people have a view of what it's like to go into business with somebody, but they don't always think about it at the outset. And I'm not saying we sat down and really thought about it, but because we were doing the British Direct Marketing Diploma together, and I was the creative director in our pretend agency, and Annie was the managing director. And because we had, it was a year course, and then we had to present, our findings, to some grown-up people, because we were much younger then. And we almost had a test run then, but we also became friends. Now, not all business partnerships are friends, but I think because we were friends and because we understood each other and because we've got shared values, but we do have complementary skills, there are bits in the middle, we both have a communal sense of humour that gets us through things, whatever's happening. And nothing is that important that, you know, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
It's more important to maintain the relationship. And, you know, we used to be neighbours. I mean, we've been on holiday together. You know, we spent a New Year in a chateau, whenever it was, you know, and Scotland. And we were in Scotland and all the electricity went out on New Year's Eve. You know, we still got through it.
Yes.
I think it's about listening, understanding, and putting yourself in the other person's shoes and just being honest and saying, well, this is working for me, this isn't. And if we really struggle, then we'll ask a third party, someone that we trust.
Yes.
And then we'll say whatever they say, you know, if we seek their advice and counsel, then we'll go with that. If we can't really, but we don't have, you know, I mean, it's a 30-year friendship and it's a 20-year working partnership.
Yes, yes. You're a glowing example, really. And what I'm going to do a plug for my book, of course. My book is all about ego. And what you've beautifully described there is that you both let go of your egos when it comes to working together and being in partnership. And by listening and understanding, putting yourself in other people's shoes is a great way of transcending your ego. And what you've got is the bigger game of your business and the greatness of your business that you can create together. So a wonderful example there. So thank you for sharing that. I had to leap on it. It just seems such a great example of how to be egoless, really.
I think you have to be. As Hela said, you know, and also one thing I really love to reiterate about what Hela said is shared values. I think that's important in any relationship in life. If you don't have shared values, you're going in different directions.
Yes.
So look at those first. It's really, really important.
Yes, yes, fantastic. And what would you say, Annie, are the values of Sister Snog?
Well, I have a list of them.
How marvellous.
Well, from our brand's perspective, there are 3 types of values. Rational, the head. You've got emotional, the heart, and intrinsic, the guts of the brand. So the rational are I've got them up on I have them up on my wall. So I never forget them.
Not looking to God.
I'm not looking to God. No, I'm looking to my list. So I will list them for you. The rational are discerning, effective, perceptive, and pragmatic. The emotional are engaging, fascinating, surprising, and stylish. And the intrinsic are motivating, refreshing, remarkable, and unconventional.
Oh, I love that. And I certainly hear, you know, my experience of you, both of you two and Sister Snog and the whole experience of being part of your community is that you absolutely bring those to life in what you offer to us as your clients, but just in how you live day to day within your business. Fantastic. And absolutely. Start with your values first. Everything cascades from there as well. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I'm really enjoying this conversation. And I hope everybody else is. Good. So I just want to then ask, because obviously you're what I would regard as dynamic leaders. You know, you're out there, you're courageous, you're living your truth, and that you're certainly aligned with your values and how you both show up around your business and with each other. I'm curious about what you've learned about leadership on your journey, and that could be from way back from when you were a child, or it could be from just from being in business together, or it could be while you were studying your marketing, wherever it was. But I just would love to hear from each of you an example of a moment that really sort of maybe stopped you almost, but got you to really think about yourself and how you are as a leader, and impacts you and shows up in your leadership today. And I don't mind who goes first. I don't want to pick on either one of you. Just who would be willing between the two of you to sort of share first?
I'm happy to.
Thank you, Hela.
I think the thing about leadership is that you're not in the front, in my opinion, because I think although, you know, you have your leaders on your podiums and, you know, making their speeches, I think leaders should be assisting and putting their followers, or for us it's, you know, the tribe, in the front, and making sure that wherever possible, you know, you can elevate them and you can encourage them and you can connect them. So, you know, for example, when when we have when we have the live First Fridays, although Annie and I would, do the Annie and Hela show and the double act and, get people together, our role was to be, we don't sit at a separate table on a podium, being fanned by butlers in the buff or anything.
I think we should.
We're always with the sisters, and we build relationships with sisters so that we understand what they need. We ask them questions. Although this is our brand, our club, we regularly do questionnaires to find out what do they want, what do we need to offer, what will help them. And, leaders need to build relationships with the people that they know, because there's nothing worse than being a leader that you can't access. We're very available. We always, we're on the Zoom events, we're on the live events. We turn up and support sisters when they're having events, when they're doing something. We shout about the others rather than shouting about ourselves.
Yes. Well, that to me, that's all about what I would call relational leadership. And certainly that's something I aspire to and also try to support people in creating, because I don't think you get very far if you're not able to build relationships with people and understand people. It's very hard to take people with you if you're not able to build a relationship with them. So that's really, really resonates with me. And there's also something about servant leadership there as well, in terms of we're here to serve you. We're not necessarily, you are leading the way in terms of what you've created, and that attracts people towards you. But then you're of service to the people who join your community. Annie, how about for you?
Yeah, following on from what Hela was saying, I think, it's about building trusted relationships. And I think that's reflected in the long-term relationships that we have with lots of people in our lives, with sisters who've returned to the fold, with many, many other people in our lives. I think the most important thing about leadership for me is honesty and integrity plus values equals trust. And if you have those three things in place, people will trust you, will know you, will like you, will want to engage with you.
Yes.
So, as Hela said, it's not about standing on a podium. It's about building those relationships, about making sure that people are on board with what you're doing. And you've also got to make a lot of uncomfortable decisions sometimes.
Yes. So, and what might be an uncomfortable decision? Can you give us an example of that?
Oh, we've had lots in the past 12 months.
I bet you have, yeah. So talk a bit more about that then.
Or rather, the past 10 months since March last year, along with a lot of other people in business.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing about COVID and the whole pandemic for businesses is the uncertainty. And we're no exception to that. And I understand why there is uncertainty, because this is, the word unprecedented has been bandied around, but we've never encountered anything quite like this before. So the first difficult decision was in March last year, when we decided not to hold the business boosting breakfast in the middle of March, because this was before the lockdown.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, people were being told not to hug, don't get too close to people. It was starting to happen. And we could almost see that lockdown on the horizon. So I think that was the first difficult decision, because a lot of people say, we love the events, and it is a difficult one. However, on the 23rd of March, as we all know, we went into national lockdown. After that, we had to, like a lot of others, pivot our business, because who knew when we were going to be able to hold a live event again? I think initially the lockdown was supposed to be until June. It went on until the 4th of July. And again, it's the difficult thing at the moment is is the uncertainty. But what we have to do, I think, as business leaders, is make decisions.
Yes.
And we made one last year to say to our members, you know, we're going to do something for you, which we did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that, you know, it has been an uncomfortable 10 months for us,
yes.
and most other businesses.
Yes,
but you've got to stay with it. You've got to have the grit, the determination, and the resilience to ride the storm.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing, by being really congruent and, you know, acting with honesty, acting in line with your values, acting with integrity, that has created the trust in your community, and your business is still thriving. So it's good to see.
I mean, to say that we're thriving emotionally, and we're thriving mentally, and we're thriving in terms of knowing that we have support, and also putting ourselves in the shoes of the members.
Yes.
We used to have, you know, if you came to a First Friday, you had to have booked the 10 days before, because we had to do the menu, etc. You know, and we do want to get people into the habit of booking in advance. However, we've just got to realise that things are happening in people's lives that we don't know. You know, there is a public face to everybody, but it's okay, you know, to let people in because things have happened in their world. So, you know, there's the ideal world, there's the business model, and then there's reality. And we're here to create a community, and maybe someone hasn't been for a little while because something's going on, but we need to stay here and be here so that they can come back, so they can re-engage and know that we haven't gone away. And I think keeping going is really important. So you keep going today and tomorrow and this week.
Yes. So I'm thinking it's keeping an eye on the longer term that is very unknown, but being present to what's going on right now is really important, and also being flexible to and available to your community and the people that participate in your community. One thing I noticed, because I've just recently rejoined you, and you made it really easy to do that because there was such a flexible choice on how I might do that, which I think matches the times in that there is a need to be flexible and agile. You know, the whole word agility is kind of flavour of the month these days, isn't it? Because there is a real need to be agile. Sorry, Hela.
No, I was going to say, and also what we did, because, you know, there's live events, there's pre-lockdown offering, and then there's what's happening now. So we've upped the opportunities to connect. You know, there are more events, we've got more planned. And I think as well, so it's looking at what are people needing. So as a leader, what people need, you know, in January versus what people need in March are two different things.
Yes.
We need to ask and do what we can, bearing in mind, you know, we're two individuals.
Yes.
And that, you know, there are a lot of people to be looking after and reaching out to, and so that you've got to be available, I think, available and accessible.
Yes. Great. And so finally, we're coming to the end of our conversation now, and just sort of, I always ask every guest this same thing, so I'll ask both of you as well. What sort of, any parting thoughts or advice you'd like to pass on to people during these tricky times, really, from each of you, that you'd like to leave our watchers with? Annie, let's start with you.
I think the biggest thing is that old saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. Don't keep everything bottled up. You know, share it with someone. One of the beautiful things about having a business partner is that you can share this journey. You know, I would not have done this without Hela. So I think during these times, it's really important to share how you're feeling.
Yes.
You know, it is about emotional intelligence, if you like. You've got to realise that people are, as Hela said, you know, they're all in different places at the moment. The sisters that we had before lockdown, some of them are in a different place now, simply because of situations with their home lives, with their business, with their personal lives, you know. So I think the most important thing is to share.
Yeah.
Don't keep it all bottled up.
Yeah, lovely. That's really, really good advice. And from you, Hela?
Yeah, well, I would say you are the company that you keep. So make sure that you surround yourself, have an accountability buddy or a success partner, then have a ripple of people that you can call on, and then create your world, because the blanket of uncertainty, we're all feeling it. And as Annie said, share and hang out with those that are on their way, that will help you, that will challenge you, that will offer advice. I had a call with somebody last night. It was Corey, actually, who is now in Georgia. So she was a sister. We had an hour and a half of great chat, and we both helped each other and come up with some ideas, because we're looking at, our audience is now global. Think big, even in these times. Think big and hang out with people who are thinking a similar sort of way. If you're big, just think bigger. I mean, I'm not saying we've all got to build global empires. Why not? But you don't
give up on your dreams. Think big and make sure you've got a good support network and you reach out to it as well, as what I'm hearing. Fantastic. Okay, well, that kind of brings us to the end of our conversation today. It's been absolutely delightful talking to you both. I'd also like to thank those that have been watching. Do write comments in the comment boxes below this video, and if you're watching in catch up, please do write them as well, because I always reply to any comments that get put there. It's always good to get a conversation going. Again, thank you very much to Hela and to Annie for today. Next week is episode 13 of Lessons in Leadership, and we have the wonderful Jude Jennison, who is a very dynamic leadership consultant who works with leaders from organizations working with horses. So she uses horses as her way of helping people develop their leadership capabilities. So we're going to have some fascinating conversations next week with Jude, I'm sure. But for now, I'd just like to thank you once again, Hela and Annie. It's been such a delightful conversation that we've had today. I very much hope that we get lots of comments and lots of views of it. And I look forward to seeing you soon at one of your events, be it online or in person.
Thank you very much, Mary. Thanks for having us on.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.